Let me share with you a story that has always stayed with me. A story about perception, reflection, and how the world we see is often shaped by what's inside us. There was once a monk who lived near a busy path leading to a small village. One morning, while he was meditating, a traveler approached him. "Good morning, sir," the traveler greeted him. "I have a question for you. Are the people in the next village good?" The monk opened his eyes, his expression calm and steady. "Good morning, young man," he said. "Where are you coming from?" The traveler explained that he was leaving a village near the mountains, searching for a new place to live. The monk nodded and asked, "And how are the people there?" With a look of disdain, the traveler replied, "Oh, they were arrogant, selfish, and greedy. They only thought about themselves." The monk closed his eyes briefly, then looked back at the traveler. "The people in the next village are the same," he said calmly. Satisfied with the answer, the traveler moved on, his face reflecting his discontent. Later that day, another traveler came along the same path. He greeted the monk respectfully. "Good morning, sir. May I ask you something? I am heading to the next village to look for work. Do you know if the people there are friendly?" The monk, just as tranquil as before, responded, "Good morning, young man. Where are you coming from?" The traveler explained that he was leaving a village near the river. The monk asked, "And how are the people there?" The traveler smiled warmly. "Ah, they were kind, helpful, and welcoming. They always supported one another." The monk returned the smile and replied, "The people in the next village are the same." The traveler thanked the monk and continued on his journey, his steps light and his heart optimistic. Nearby, a young apprentice who had overheard both conversations approached the monk. "Master," he asked, "why did you give different answers to the same question? How are the people in the next village really?" People do not see the world as it is, but as they are. What we see around us is a reflection of what we carry within ourselves. This story holds a profound truth. The way we perceive the world is shaped by our attitudes and inner experiences. If we look at life with kindness, optimism, and understanding, that's what we'll find in return. But if we carry negativity, it will color everything we see. After all, it's not the world that defines what we see, it's our hearts that shape our vision. Now take a moment to reflect. What are you carrying inside you that's shaping your view of the world? When we look in the mirror, the person we see is often a reflection of what we've left behind. Mistakes, hesitant choices, moments of stagnation. However, true power doesn't lie in avoiding failures, but in deciding to start over. I remember when my company, Alibaba, was just an idea. Nothing seemed right. No one believed in us. But it was at that moment I realized rebuilding is not an act of giving up. It's a decision of courage. Ask yourself, what can you change now to build something greater? Starting over is not about discarding who you are, but about refining the aspects that hold you back. Imagine yourself as a sculptor facing a block of stone. Every decision you make, no matter how small, is a chisel stroke revealing your best version. At first, it may feel like a thankless task, but soon you'll see shapes emerging. I used to tell myself, if you don't take the first step today, tomorrow will be exactly like yesterday. No matter how small the step is, it matters. Some people ask, "Jack, how do I start transforming my life?" My answer is always, start where you are and with what you have. In the beginning, I had no money, no contacts, and no experience. What I had was determination. Transformation doesn't need a perfect setting, it requires willpower. Imagine planting a seed in seemingly barren soil. With care and persistence, it can grow into a robust tree. That's what you can do, even starting from zero. The secret to rebuilding is having clarity about where you want to go. Often people feel stuck because they try to build something without a clear vision of what they want. It's like trying to navigate without a map. You get lost, discouraged, and eventually give up. When we founded Alibaba, the vision was simple. Help small businesses reach the world. Simplicity creates focus, and focus generates results. So, ask yourself, what is your ultimate goal? Finally, remember that rebuilding requires patience. Big changes don't happen overnight. Think of a river cutting through a mountain. It doesn't do so in haste, but with consistency. Every day, every small effort you make contributes to your transformation. The question is not whether you can rebuild your life. You can. The real question is, are you willing to take the first step today? Failure hurts. It's like falling off a bike for the first time. The physical pain doesn't compare to the frustration inside. But here's the interesting part. Every time I fell, I learned something new about how to ride. That's the perfect metaphor for life. When I was rejected by more than 30 companies, even by KFC, I could have given up. Instead, I chose to learn from every no. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the process. Think of failure as a strict but fair teacher. It teaches us lessons that success never could. When we started Alibaba, we faced countless obstacles. We didn't have cutting-edge technology or substantial financial backing. There were moments when I wondered, will we ever make it? But every mistake we made pushed us toward more creative solutions. Failure isn't an ending, it's the beginning of something bigger, if you learn to listen to it. Many people fear failure because they believe it defines them. But here's the truth. Failures are just chapters in a much bigger book. Look at athletes. They lose countless times before becoming champions. Michael Jordan, for example, was cut from his high school basketball team. I wonder, what if he had quit at that moment? The question you should ask yourself is not why did I fail, but what can I learn from this? The key lies in changing your perspective. Instead of seeing failure as something that holds you back, see it as a stepping stone. When we lost big deals at Alibaba, I used to gather the team and ask, what would we do differently next time? That reflection turned our mistakes into powerful insights. You can do the same. What was your last failure? What lesson is it trying to teach you? Failure is inevitable, but quitting is optional. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. What matters is how many times you get back up. Every defeat brings you closer to victory, as long as you keep trying. What I've learned over the years is that success isn't for those who never fail, but for those who persist. The question is, are you ready to embrace your failures as steps towards success? Challenges always seem bigger than they actually are, especially at first. When we founded Alibaba, I remember thinking that every problem was like an impossible mountain to climb. We had no money, no technology, and not nearly enough support. But then I realized something. Every challenge carries a hidden opportunity. The question is, are you willing to find it? Every obstacle can become a bridge if you learn to look beyond the surface. There's a story I often share. In Alibaba's early years, we faced fierce competition from much larger companies. Instead of trying to compete directly, we focused on something they overlooked: small and medium-sized businesses. That's how we carved out our space in the market. The challenges that seemed to crush us forced us to think differently. And this mindset can be applied to any area of life. Think about your own challenges. Maybe you're dealing with difficulties at work, financial problems, or even uncertainty about the future. These situations might feel insurmountable, but the key is to shift your perspective. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is fighting against challenges instead of learning from them. Ask yourself, what is this problem trying to teach me? What new skill or strength can I develop here? Turning challenges into opportunities requires creativity and resilience. It's like transforming a rough stone into a precious gem. It might take time, but the result is worth it. At Alibaba, one of our biggest difficulties was expanding into the global market. Initially, it seemed impossible, but we realized that our experience in the Chinese market could become a unique advantage. The key is to use what you already have to overcome what's ahead. Remember that the biggest problems often hold the greatest rewards. When we face adversity, it pushes us out of our comfort zones and forces us to grow. Treat every challenge as a test, not to prove what you already know, but to discover how far you can go. What if, instead of seeing barriers, you started looking for bridges? Rejection is a universal experience. No matter who you are or where you come from, at some point, you'll hear a no. I clearly remember the 10 times I was rejected by Harvard University. Each rejection letter seemed to say, "You're not good enough." But instead of giving up, I chose to turn those rejections into fuel for my journey. Think about it. What if every no was actually a step in the right direction? When we tried to build Alibaba, we faced so many rejections I lost count. Investors said our business model wasn't viable, that e-commerce would never take off. But these rejections taught us something powerful. It's not others' opinions that define your worth, it's what you do with them. Every no we received was a reminder to adjust our strategy and focus even harder on our goal. Rejections can be painful, but they're also opportunities. They force you to look inward and ask, how can I improve? Early in my career, after being rejected for a job at KFC, I realized I needed to develop unique skills. Instead of feeling sorry for myself, I started building my vision and working on what would make me indispensable. That's how you turn rejection into a catalyst for success. Many people give up after the first no, but the secret is to persist. Imagine a child learning to walk. They fall dozens of times before taking their first steps, but they never stop trying. In the end, the rejections you face today will be the stories of your triumph tomorrow. What matters is not how many times you're rejected, but how you respond to each rejection. Be grateful for the doors that close. They force you to look for new paths, often better than the ones you originally imagined. When you hear a no, don't see it as a failure, but as a chance to redirect your efforts. After all, rejections aren't the end, they're just the beginning of something greater if you're willing to keep trying. Persistence is the key to overcoming what seems impossible. When I started Alibaba, many people said, "Jack, this will never work." The criticism was relentless, and the obstacles seemed endless. But I believed in the power of persistence. Each day, I reminded myself that great achievements don't come from luck. They come from refusing to give up. No matter how hard it gets, ask yourself, how much do you really want it? Challenges are like storms. They may seem overwhelming at first, but every storm passes eventually, leaving behind clear skies. When Alibaba struggled in its early days, there were moments when giving up seemed like the easiest option. But I knew that persistence was the only way forward. Every rejection, every mistake was a test of our determination. If you hold onto your goal, nothing can truly stop you. The path to success is rarely smooth. Think of it as climbing a steep mountain. The higher you go, the tougher it gets. But the view from the top is worth every step. Persistence means taking one step at a time, even when the path is unclear or the odds are against you. In the toughest moments, I would remind myself of this. Today is hard, tomorrow will be worse, but the day after tomorrow will be beautiful. One of the secrets to persistence is finding motivation in the right places. For me, it was the belief that Alibaba could change lives, not just mine, but those of millions of small businesses. When you focus on the bigger picture, it's easier to push through the hard times. What is your bigger picture? What keeps you moving forward when everything else tells you to stop? Persistence doesn't mean ignoring failure, it means learning from it. Each obstacle is a lesson, a chance to grow stronger and smarter. The question isn't whether barriers will arise, they always will. The real question is, will you push through no matter what? With persistence, every barrier can be overcome. Resilience is the ability to bounce back, no matter how hard life knocks you down. When I look back at my journey, I see countless moments where resilience made all the difference. From rejections at every stage of my career to the early struggles of Alibaba, I learned one truth: setbacks are not permanent. They are opportunities to reinvent yourself and come back stronger. Setbacks can feel like the end of the road, but they're actually a chance to start anew. After every major failure in Alibaba, I would sit down with my team and say, "This is not the end, it's just the beginning of something better." Resilience is about shifting your perspective. Instead of seeing a dead end, see a new path waiting to be created. Rebuilding after a setback requires a strong mindset. It's like planting a tree after a storm has uprooted the old one. It takes time, effort, and belief, but the new growth will be stronger and more rooted. When we lost major opportunities early on, it forced us to rethink our approach and innovate. Resilience means using every setback as a springboard to something greater. Sometimes, resilience is as simple as showing up, even when it feels impossible. During our toughest days at Alibaba, I often thought about quitting. But each morning, I reminded myself, the darkest hour is just before the dawn. By choosing to move forward, you give yourself the chance to see the light. It's not about never falling. It's about always getting back up. Resilience is a skill you can develop. It grows each time you refuse to let failure define you. Every comeback starts with a choice to rise. The next time you face a setback, ask yourself, is this the end, or is this the beginning of a new chapter? With resilience, you hold the pen to rewrite your story. The way you see the world determines how far you can go. A growth mindset, the belief that you can learn, adapt, and improve, unlocks endless possibilities. When I was young, I wasn't the smartest or most talented, but I believed in my ability to grow. That belief was more powerful than any skill I lacked. Your mindset is the key to breaking limits. A fixed mindset sees failure as proof that you're not good enough. A growth mindset, on the other hand, sees failure as a chance to learn. When Alibaba faced early challenges, I didn't view them as signs of weakness, but as opportunities to strengthen our approach. Every setback taught us something new. Growth is about embracing challenges and using them as stepping stones. A growth mindset allows you to see potential where others see obstacles. When I pitched Alibaba to investors, most of them said, "This will never work." But I saw potential in the internet and how it could connect small businesses to the world. With a growth mindset, you begin to see problems, not as walls, but as puzzles waiting to be solved. To cultivate a growth mindset, you must commit to lifelong learning. Read books, seek mentors, and ask questions. I've always believed that the day you stop learning is the day you stop growing. Think of your mind as a muscle. The more you challenge it, the stronger it becomes. What are you doing today to strengthen your mindset? The beauty of a growth mindset is that it's never too late to start. Whether you're 20 or 60, you can choose to see the world differently. Instead of asking, "Can I do this?" start asking, "How can I learn to do this?" With a growth mindset, you'll discover that your potential has no limits. Fear is the biggest barrier to achieving our dreams. I still remember the fear I felt when starting Alibaba. What if we failed? What if no one believed in us? But then I realized something crucial. Fear is just a feeling, not a fact. The dreams that seem impossible are often the ones worth pursuing. To overcome fear, you must face it head-on. Fear thrives on uncertainty. When we began, e-commerce was a completely new concept in China. People doubted it, and so did I at times. But I knew that allowing fear to control my decisions would only lead to regret. Fear can paralyze you, or it can motivate you. The choice is yours. Every time fear whispered, "You can't do this," I asked, "What if I can?" Building the dream you thought was impossible starts with small, bold steps. It's like crossing a dark river one stone at a time. The first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most important. I remember the first time I pitched Alibaba. It was terrifying. But taking that leap proved to myself and others that the dream was real. What's the first step you can take today? Fear loses its power when you focus on the bigger picture. I wasn't just building a company. I was building a platform that could help millions of small businesses. When your dream is bigger than your fear, courage comes naturally. Think about it. What's more important, the fear of failure or the possibility of success? Let your vision pull you forward. The truth is, fear will always be there, but so will your dreams. The key is to act despite the fear. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward in spite of it. The next time fear tells you to stop, remember that the dream you're chasing is worth it. Are you ready to step into the unknown and build something extraordinary? Big transformations don't happen overnight. They're built one small step at a time. When I started Alibaba, it wasn't a global company. It was a small team working in my apartment. We didn't aim to change the world all at once. Instead, we focused on small, consistent actions that, over time, created something extraordinary. Success isn't about leaps, it's about steps. Small steps might feel insignificant, but they're incredibly powerful. Imagine filling a jar drop by drop. At first, it seems like nothing is happening, but eventually, the jar overflows. That's how growth works. When I look back at Alibaba's journey, it wasn't one big moment that defined us. It was the countless small decisions and actions we took every day. The beauty of small steps is that anyone can take them. You don't need to be the smartest, richest, or most experienced. All you need is the willingness to start. Even if it's just one phone call, one idea, or 1 hour of effort, it counts. When I first started learning English, I practiced a little every day. Over time, those small efforts added up to fluency. Small steps also build momentum. Once you take the first step, the next one becomes easier. Progress creates motivation. I've seen people give up because they focus too much on the end goal and not enough on the process. But if you break your dream into small, manageable steps, you'll find that even the biggest goals are achievable. Remember, every great journey starts with a single step. Don't underestimate the power of starting small. Whether it's learning a new skill, building a business, or improving your life, each small action brings you closer to your goal. What small step can you take today to start your transformation? Opportunities are often hidden in plain sight, disguised as problems. When I started Alibaba, the internet was seen as unreliable, and e-commerce was a foreign concept in China. Most people focused on these problems, but I saw them as opportunities. The key is not what you see, it's how you see it. Are you looking for solutions or reasons to stop? The greatest opportunities often lie in solving the problems others ignore. At Alibaba, we realized that small businesses were struggling to reach global markets. While others dismissed this as too challenging, we saw potential. Instead of asking, "Why is this so difficult?" we asked, "How can we make it work?" That mindset made all the difference. Opportunities are everywhere, but they require a different perspective. It's like looking at a rough diamond. At first glance, it might seem like just a rock. But with the right mindset, you can see its true value. The same applies to challenges in life and business. The question is, are you willing to look deeper? Seeing opportunities where others see problems also requires courage. It means taking risks and trusting your instincts. When we launched Alibaba, we took a huge risk by focusing on small businesses instead of large corporations. It wasn't the obvious choice, but it was the right one. What risks are you willing to take to uncover opportunities? Finally, remember that opportunities often come from a place of service. When you focus on helping others solve their problems, you create value, and value leads to success. The next time you face a problem, don't shy away from it. Instead, ask yourself, how can I turn this into an opportunity to grow, innovate, or make a difference? Every failure contains a lesson waiting to be discovered. When I was rejected multiple times for jobs, including one at a local KFC, it would have been easy to feel defeated. But instead of focusing on the rejection, I began to ask myself, what can I learn from this? That shift in perspective turned what felt like a loss into a stepping stone. Failures don't define you. How you respond to them does. Failures often reveal gaps we can improve on. Early in Alibaba's journey, there were many moments when things didn't go as planned. Instead of blaming circumstances, we used each setback to analyze our strategies. If a campaign failed, we would sit together as a team and dissect what went wrong. These lessons became our foundation for future success. Think about your own setbacks. What are they trying to teach you? Sometimes failures force you to innovate. When Alibaba struggled to gain traction internationally, it felt like a major blow. But rather than accept defeat, we explored new strategies, finding ways to adapt our approach for different markets. Failure can be a catalyst for creativity, driving you to think outside the box and find solutions you hadn't considered before. Viewing failures as lessons also requires humility. It's not easy to admit when something didn't work, but that's the first step toward growth. I've always believed that a strong leader isn't someone who avoids mistakes, but someone who learns from them. Every failure holds the potential for growth if you approach it with an open mind and a willingness to change. The most important thing is to keep moving forward. Failures are only final if you let them stop you. Each defeat is like a puzzle piece, offering you a clearer picture of what's needed for success. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, focus on what you can do better next time. How will you turn your failures into tools for your next big breakthrough? Passion is the fire that fuels everything extraordinary. When I started Alibaba, I wasn't the smartest or most experienced person in the room, but I had one thing that made all the difference: a deep passion for connecting small businesses to global markets. Passion isn't just about loving what you do. It's about believing so strongly in your vision that nothing can stop you. Your passion gives you resilience. When faced with obstacles, it's easy to lose motivation. But when you're driven by something you truly care about, setbacks feel less like failures and more like challenges to overcome. I often tell young entrepreneurs, find something you love so much that even the hardest days feel worth it. What would you do every day, even if no one paid you for it? Passion also makes you unstoppable. I remember working long nights in Alibaba's early days, trying to convince people of a dream they couldn't see yet. If I didn't have passion for the mission, I might have given up. Passion gives you the energy to keep going when logic tells you to quit. It transforms work into a calling. To discover your passion, pay attention to what excites you and aligns with your values. It's not always obvious at first, but it's worth the search. Once you find it, use it to guide your decisions. Passion combined with strategy creates impact. What excites you so much that you lose track of time while doing it? Passion alone won't guarantee success, but it makes the journey fulfilling. It gives meaning to your efforts and connects you to something greater than yourself. When you align your passion with your purpose, you'll find that success is no longer just a goal. It's a byproduct of doing what you love. What part of your story could be rewritten with the power of passion? Rejections are part of every success story, and my journey is no exception. When I applied to Harvard 10 times and was rejected every single time, it could have shattered my confidence. But instead, it fueled my determination to prove that success doesn't depend on where you start. It depends on how persistent you are. Success begins the moment you refuse to give up. Being rejected by multiple employers, including KFC, taught me an important lesson. Rejection doesn't mean you're unworthy. It simply means the opportunity wasn't the right fit. When Alibaba struggled to secure funding in its early years, investors doubted our potential. Yet every no we heard pushed us to refine our vision and work even harder. Sometimes rejection is life's way of directing you to something better. Overcoming rejection requires self-belief. If you let others' doubts shape your decisions, you'll never realize your true potential. I've always believed that those who succeed aren't necessarily the most talented. They're the ones who keep showing up despite being told no. What could you accomplish if you stopped fearing rejection and started embracing it? Rejection is also a powerful teacher. It forces you to reevaluate, improve, and try again with greater focus. When I pitched Alibaba and faced constant rejection, I learned to ask better questions, adapt my presentation, and refine our mission. Each no became a stepping stone to a stronger yes. How can you use rejection to sharpen your skills? The truth is, rejection is inevitable, but success comes to those who see it not as an ending, but as a beginning. The next time you face rejection, remember this. It's not about how many times you're told no. It's about how many times you're willing to say yes to your dreams. Will you let rejection define you or drive you? Time is the most valuable resource we have. Unlike money or possessions, once time is spent, it can never be recovered. Early in my career, I often found myself thinking, if only I had more time. But the truth is, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. The difference lies in how we use them. Are you spending your time wisely, or is it slipping through your fingers? When I started Alibaba, I quickly realized that effective time management was critical. I had to balance running a startup, leading a team, and planning for the future. The key wasn't working more hours, it was working smarter. I focused on prioritizing tasks that aligned with our long-term goals. Ask yourself, are you focusing on what truly matters, or are you distracted by what's urgent but unimportant? Time management is about discipline and clarity. One habit I developed was dedicating specific hours of my day to learning and strategizing. It's easy to get caught up in daily tasks, but if you don't set aside time to grow and think big, you'll always stay stuck in the present. Successful people don't just work hard, they invest their time in activities that compound over the long run. Another powerful lesson I've learned is the importance of saying no. Time is finite, and every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that truly matters. In the early days of Alibaba, I had to turn down opportunities that didn't align with our vision, even when they seemed tempting. Saying no is hard, but it's essential to protect your most valuable resource, your time. The way you manage your time shapes your future. Treat each day as a chance to move closer to your goals. Even small changes like eliminating distractions or focusing on one priority at a time can create massive results over time. Remember, time is your greatest tool. How will you use it to build the life you want? Entrepreneurship isn't just about starting a business. It's a way of thinking. It's about seeing possibilities where others see obstacles and taking action when others hesitate. When I began Alibaba, I wasn't just thinking about making money, I was thinking about solving a problem. Entrepreneurs don't wait for permission. They create opportunities. What opportunities are waiting for you to create them? Thinking like an entrepreneur starts with taking ownership of your life. It means no longer blaming circumstances, people, or luck for your situation. When we faced challenges at Alibaba, I didn't wait for someone to fix them. Instead, I asked, what can we do right now to turn this around? This mindset applies to every area of life. Are you waiting for change or are you creating it? Entrepreneurs embrace risks, but they do so intelligently. It's not about being reckless. It's about being willing to step out of your comfort zone and try something new. In the early days of Alibaba, launching an e-commerce platform in China felt like an enormous gamble. But without risk, there is no reward. The question isn't whether there's risk, it's whether the potential reward is worth it. Another hallmark of entrepreneurial thinking is resilience. Entrepreneurs know that failure is part of the journey. Instead of being discouraged by setbacks, they see them as lessons. Every time something went wrong at Alibaba, we asked, what did this teach us? With this mindset, challenges became stepping stones to success. How can you adopt this same resilience in your own life? Finally, thinking like an entrepreneur means always staying curious and adaptable. The world is constantly changing, and those who succeed are the ones who keep learning, experimenting, and evolving. What new skills could you learn today? What bold action could you take to start creating a life without limits? Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. When I started Alibaba, there were plenty of moments when I doubted myself. People said, "Jack, you're not a tech expert." And they were right. But I didn't let that stop me. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from believing in yourself, despite the doubts of others. Do you believe in your potential? Building confidence starts with small wins. In the beginning, I focused on achieving small, manageable goals. Each success, no matter how small, added to my confidence. It's like climbing a ladder. Every step takes you higher. Don't aim for perfection, aim for progress. What's one small step you can take today to prove to yourself that you're capable? Another secret to confidence is preparation. When I faced big challenges, I didn't walk in blind. I studied, practiced, and made sure I was ready. Confidence grows when you feel prepared. Think about a musician practicing for a concert. The more they rehearse, the more confident they feel on stage. Are you preparing yourself for the opportunities you want? Surrounding yourself with the right people also boosts confidence. At Alibaba, I was lucky to have a team that believed in our vision, even when the odds were against us. Their beliefs strengthened mine. Find people who encourage you, challenge you, and remind you of your worth. Who in your life helps build your confidence? Ultimately, confidence is a choice. It's deciding to move forward, even when you feel uncertain. The world may doubt you, but that doesn't mean you have to doubt yourself. Trust in your ability to learn, adapt, and grow. What could you accomplish if you had the confidence to take the first step? Life is full of unexpected changes, and while they can feel unsettling, they often bring hidden opportunities. When I look back at my journey, many of the biggest breakthroughs came from moments of uncertainty. For example, when Alibaba faced the SARS outbreak in 2003, everything seemed to come to a halt. But instead of panicking, we used that time to strengthen our online platforms, paving the way for the future. Change isn't the enemy, it's an opportunity in disguise. Adapting to unexpected changes requires a shift in mindset. Instead of resisting what you can't control, focus on what you can. During the early days of Alibaba, the internet was still uncharted territory in China. Many saw this as a risk, but we saw it as a chance to create something revolutionary. Every change presents a choice. You can let it paralyze you, or you can let it propel you forward. Flexibility is your greatest asset during uncertain times. Think of a tree in a storm. The trees that survive aren't the stiffest, they're the ones that bend without breaking. When we encountered challenges, I often told my team, this isn't the end, it's a chance to try something new. Are you staying flexible enough to adapt when life takes an unexpected turn? Another key to thriving during change is staying focused on your long-term vision. Changes can feel overwhelming, but they're often just temporary detours. When Alibaba faced obstacles in its global expansion, we didn't abandon our mission. Instead, we adjusted our strategy to stay aligned with our goals. Are you letting change distract you, or are you using it to move closer to your purpose? Ultimately, unexpected changes force growth. They push you out of your comfort zone and make you stronger. The next time life throws you a curveball, ask yourself, what is this change teaching me? How can I use it to grow, innovate, or create something new? Remember, growth isn't comfortable, but it's always worth it. Habits shape your future. What you do consistently every day has a far greater impact than occasional big efforts. Over the years, I've discovered 3 simple yet powerful habits that can create extraordinary results. These aren't just habits for success, they're habits for life. The question is, are you ready to make them part of your daily routine? The first habit is prioritization. Every morning, ask yourself, what's the most important thing I need to do today? Focusing on priorities prevents you from getting overwhelmed by distractions. When we were building Alibaba, there were countless tasks pulling us in different directions. But by focusing on our core mission, we achieved clarity and progress. What's your top priority right now? The second habit is continuous learning. The world is changing fast, and those who stop learning get left behind. I made it a habit to read, listen, and ask questions every day. Whether it's a new book, a podcast, or a conversation with a mentor, learning keeps your mind sharp and your perspective fresh. What can you learn today that will help you tomorrow? The third habit is reflection. At the end of each day, take a moment to review what went well and what could have been better. Reflection isn't about criticizing yourself. It's about understanding how to improve. I often tell my team, mistakes are okay as long as we learn from them. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Are you taking time to learn from your day? These 3 habits, prioritization, learning, and reflection, are simple but transformative. They don't require extraordinary talent or resources, just consistency. Imagine what your life could look like if you practice these habits every day. What will you choose to focus on, learn, and improve today? Purpose gives life meaning. Without it, even success can feel empty. When I founded Alibaba, the purpose wasn't just to create a company, it was to empower small businesses and connect them to global opportunities. That purpose kept us going, even during the toughest times. Purpose isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. Do you know your purpose? Finding purpose starts with asking the right questions. What excites you? What impact do you want to make? Your purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It just needs to matter to you. Early in my journey, I realized my purpose was helping others succeed. That realization gave my work a deeper sense of fulfillment. What's something you care about so much that it energizes you? Once you find your purpose, it becomes your anchor. Challenges that might otherwise seem insurmountable become manageable because you're working towards something bigger than yourself. When we faced setbacks at Alibaba, our purpose reminded us why we started in the first place. It gave us the strength to keep moving forward. What's the bigger reason behind your efforts? Purpose also fuels resilience. When things get hard, your purpose reminds you of what's at stake. It's like having a compass that keeps you on track, even in the midst of a storm. I often say, if you don't give up, you still have a chance. Purpose gives you the determination to keep going. How can your purpose help you face your greatest challenges? Finally, purpose inspires others. When you live and work with a clear sense of purpose, it attracts people who share your vision. At Alibaba, our purpose united a team that believed in the mission. Together, we achieved what seemed impossible. Imagine what you could accomplish if you aligned your efforts with your purpose. What's stopping you from starting today? Every transformation begins with a leap of faith. When I decided to leave my teaching job to start Alibaba, it was one of the scariest decisions I've ever made. But I knew that staying in my comfort zone would only limit my growth. Taking that leap wasn't easy, but it was necessary. What leap are you hesitating to take? Taking the leap requires courage, but it doesn't mean you have to be fearless. Fear is natural. It's a sign that you're stepping into something bigger. The key is to act despite the fear. I often remind myself, if you don't try, you'll never know. What's the worst that can happen? Even failure is a step forward. Preparation can make the leap less intimidating. Before starting Alibaba, I spent years observing trends, learning about technology, and building a vision. I didn't have all the answers, but I had a foundation to start from. Preparation doesn't eliminate risk, but it builds confidence. What can you do today to prepare for your next big leap? Sometimes taking the leap means leaving something behind. It might be a job, a mindset, or a habit that no longer serves you. Change is uncomfortable, but growth demands it. Think of a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. It can't fly until it lets go of its old self. What are you holding on to that's preventing your transformation? Ultimately, taking the leap is about believing in your potential. You don't have to see the entire path, just the next step. Trust that each step will bring you closer to your best self. The question isn't whether you can do it, it's whether you're willing to try. What leap are you ready to take today?
Jack Ma reminded us why he is one of the most inspiring voices in the world of entrepreneurship. From a humble teacher rejected by countless employers to the visionary behind Alibaba, his journey embodies resilience, innovation, and the courage to rebuild. Jack Ma began with a powerful analogy, recounting a Chinese tale about a monk who taught that the world reflects our inner state. His lesson was clear: to change your life, you must first change your mindset. This theme echoed throughout the presentation as he revealed how small, deliberate actions create giant transformations and how embracing failure leads to unexpected breakthroughs. In one poignant moment, Jack Ma shared how every rejection he faced became a stepping stone to something greater. Rejection is not the end, he said. It's the beginning of a new opportunity. He explained how his unshakable persistence helped him overcome seemingly impossible barriers, and how the simple habit of continuous learning fueled his personal growth and professional achievements. Jack Ma didn't just inspire, he gave actionable advice. He emphasized the importance of identifying your purpose, taking calculated risks, and cultivating habits like prioritization, reflection, and adaptability. The secret to success isn't talent, he explained. It's the mindset to grow, no matter the obstacles. He even urged the audience to view challenges not as walls, but as bridges to new opportunities. The presentation also tackled the universal fear of failure. Jack Ma encouraged listeners to reframe fear as a signal of growth, saying, "If you feel afraid, it means you're about to do something worthwhile." His boldness in addressing vulnerability inspired a wave of self-belief in the room. From practical tips on time management to the power of a growth mindset, Jack Ma left no stone unturned. His words were a reminder that success doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence and a vision. He even provided real-life examples of how small daily habits can lead to monumental change, reinforcing his philosophy that great achievements are built step by step. As the speech came to a close, Jack Ma left the audience with a challenge: to take one small step today toward the life they want. He emphasized that transformation is within everyone's reach, no matter where they are starting from. What part of your life are you ready to rebuild? Are you ready to apply Jack Ma's timeless wisdom and take your first step toward a brighter future? Now that you've absorbed Jack Ma's powerful insights, it's time to ask yourself, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you ready to embrace failure as a lesson, take small but meaningful steps, and turn challenges into opportunities? Transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it begins the moment you decide to act. What's stopping you from applying these strategies today? Whether it's building a new habit, redefining your purpose, or conquering your fears, the tools are now in your hands. Revisit the moments that resonated most with you and let them fuel your journey forward. Remember, change starts with one step. Which one will you take first? Leave a comment below and share the part of Jack Ma's wisdom that inspired you the most. And don't stop here. If you ever need a reminder of what you're capable of, come back and watch this video again. Keep these lessons close as you work toward your best self. Finally, don't miss out on future content that can transform the way you think and act. Subscribe to the channel now. It's your gateway to more inspiration, growth strategies, and tools to achieve your goals. And remember to activate notifications so you never miss a moment of learning. Want to keep going? Watch the next video. The future is now. How to seize opportunities before it's too late. Jack Ma's advice for even more insights that can propel you to success. Your journey doesn't end here. It's just beginning.